Hi! Yeah, I haven't posted in maybe a month and a half, and that's on me. That's my mistake. I usually like to post every week, but December ended up being a very different month than I thought it was going to be. Instead of being a chill month in which, I had reading vlog ideas planned up, fun little end of year videos, my reading stats for 2025, I had so much work to do and then studying and tests to give as well. And I would be just completely dead and zoned out at the end of the day. And I still have a really study heavy month, so I've put off making this video for a while. But I am going to do a January TBR. I think it's unlikely that I'm going to be able to read most, if any, of these books this month because, again, I work full-time 9 to 5 and then I get home and I study, or I wake up early and I study. So there's, apart from reading notes and revising questions, I'm not doing any reading. So I don't think this is gonna happen, but in a perfect world, if I didn't have all these things going on, this is my wishful perfect January TBR. And who knows, maybe there's someone watching this video who can read this TBR for me instead. So the first book is Breakfast at Tiffany's by Truman Capote. And I got this beautiful, beautiful cover from Armchair Books in Edinburgh, which is a secondhand store. And I think for some reason I get a very New Year's January vibe from this book. And I think it's definitely because of this specific cover. It's all like, city lights, star, moon, very pretty, very snazzy. And I think also the evocation of diamonds and Tiffany's and like the glamour of Audrey Hepburn and this whole world that she's struggling through. It just like, I'm like, okay, yeah, this has to be a New Year's book. So that was my main reason for wanting to read that. I love Audrey Hepburn as an actress. She's my mom's favorite. So we watched a lot of her movies growing up, but I refused to watch Breakfast at Tiffany's because I was like, I'm going to read the book first. And I've just never read the book. And I thought January would be the month to do it. But honestly, who knows? Who knows? The next book I have on here is a collection of poetry, and this is published by Faber and Faber. I love reading poetry, I love writing poetry. I have a sizable poetry collection as well, but I'm not that great at picking up and reading all of my collections, apart from occasionally, like, not even occasionally. I think I flip through them when I buy them and I'm like, this is great. And I never read them. So that's why I picked this up, and this is Red Sauce, Whiskey, and Snow by August Kleinzahler. Who is he? He's foremost among the generation of American poets, now in their mid-40s, who, with substantial work already behind them, are just becoming known in this country. Red Sauce, Whiskey, and Snow is his first major British publication. I honestly flipped through these when I bought them and I really liked it. So I thought this will be a good choice, and again, the mention of snow evokes a feeling of winter time, and especially January for me, because if it's gonna snow at any time over here, it's Jan, February, March. This one I'm more likely to read because I think I can just stick this in my work bag and read it on my way back home in my commute. I usually, again, revise on my morning commute, but on the way back from office, I'm kind of dead inside. So I think the poems were great. Another book I have is Ex-Wife by Ursula Parrott. This was recently republished and brought back into circulation. It's about a woman, okay, who gets divorced at the young age of 24, and this is back in the 1920s or 1930s, and when there was this wave of newly young divorcees, as divorce was kind of coming up on the rise in America. Actually, this may not be 20s or 30s, it might even be 40s. New York, 1924. And the reason I want to read it this January is because I started it last January, and I think for some reason or the other I wasn't in the right headspace to read it. I liked it, but I wasn't like fully enjoying it and getting into grips with this story. It was kind of making me like, getting me down, even though it's so not a downer. I was just not in the headspace. But it's quite witty, it's quite comical, it's kind of got a diary entry recounting sort of vibe to it, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. I should check that. Okay. not really diary entry, but she's definitely recounting, and it feels like she's speaking to someone, perhaps you. She never addresses it like you, but it is sort of a recollection. I also remember reading that Ursula Parrott had gone through something like this, and though I think initially published under a pseudonym, my bad, the press immediately caught on to who it is and started ridiculing her for writing something so close to the surface and saying, oh my god, that's all she can do. Whatever. I think I want to read it. I really want to read it. Look how fabulous the cover is. It's so eye-catching. Look at that. Wait, let me read out a bit. New York, 1924. Patricia and Peter are a thoroughly modern married couple. Both drink, both smoke, both work. Both believe in love outside marriage. Until they don't, or really until he doesn't. So when Peter pushes for divorce with increasing violence, Patricia has to forge a new life as a single woman, as an ex-wife. Yeah, I'm into it. I want to know. I really want to know. The next book I have on my wishful TBR is one that I purchased very recently. I was looking up Julia Armfield, the author of Our Wives Under the Sea, and I wanted to see what other work she's put out because her novels seem like something I'll be super into. Private Rights recently also released, and I was like, ooh, this sounds like what I want. So I wanted to scope out some of her other work, and what ended coming up was this novel, which he has written an introduction for, and it's The Course of the Heart by M. John Harrison. This is a gorgeous cover, and that's what caught my eye immediately when I saw it. So it's so gorgeous. I don't know if you can see the drawing that well. I can't film better than this. I'm sorry. I'm an amateur YouTuber. Give me grace. Give me grace. But anyways, I read the back of it and I was like, this sounds right up my alley. So, sorry, excuse me. I was deciding whether to read out the quote. Best known as one of the Restless Fathers of modern science fiction, to my mind, Harrison is among the most brilliant novelists writing today. That's from Robert Macfarlane. The description of this book is, one hot May night, 3 Cambridge students enact a strange ritual that changes their lives. Decades later, none of them can move on from clouded memories of what transpired. Pam Stuyvesant has epilepsy and is plagued by sensual visions. Her husband Lucas is stalked by a dwarfish creature and invents histories to soothe Pam's fears. The narrator is seemingly the least affected. He is haunted only by the lingering scent of roses and by his guilt as he attempts to help his friends escape the torment engulfing them. Dreamlike and moving, The Course of the Heart mine the murky edges where we hide, hurt, and heal. It sounds great. I love this idea of a ritual that's gone wrong. I love most occult centered rooted stories. I find them just stupendous. A stupendous piece of publishing, in my opinion. And the last book I have on this list is Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. I got this a couple of years ago. I started this a couple of years ago and I just wasn't into it. Now I'm older. I'm not intimidated by a classic of this size or length. It's not very big in my opinion, but it was intimidating to me a couple of years ago because it was a classic. And I think I also know now that much of Jane Austen is just going to people's houses and going to people's houses and also going to people's houses with some talking in between. And that sort of aimlessness in Mansfield Park was just kind of, my brain wasn't latching onto it when I was younger. But now that I've read more classics, now I'm more familiar with this sort of language. Now that I think this is like a short, what is it? It's almost 400 pages. I think that's fine. Reading Vanity Fair last year really just has made everything seem so easy now. Whatever classic I read, I'm like, but I've read that. So if you're ever struggling with a classic or you think it's just too hard, put yourself to the task of reading a massive, ginormous, gigantic behemoth of a classic. And once you get through it, you're just kind of like, and if you enjoy it, you're kind of like, I can do anything. I can read any book. I can read any classic, because I can tell you, before I read that, if I hadn't read that, I don't know if I'd be picking up Austen. I don't know if I'd be like, I want to read her. I think it's just going to be a bit slower paced. I'm not going to be compelled to zip through the pages 24/7 and just take a slower pace and approach while reading this book, which is why I picked it up. That's why I think this would be a great pick for the beginning of the year. So that's my pile for January. That, like I said, it's really up in the air whether I'm going to read this or not. But maybe you got some ideas. Maybe you like the sound of some of these and have some recommendations. Or maybe just some of them inspired you to look at your own shelves and pick up something similar. You can just come up with a list and not stick to it. Choose your free will. Thank you for watching.